We're going to go ahead and get started. And Joy, I don't know if you want to go first since you were here and I interrupted you trying to tell me a story because I wanted you to share with everybody. So.
That's fine. So Kelly had asked me how Fafa was, and she also was asking you about the pronunciation of her name, because when I spell it, there's an R on it, and I'm sure I don't pronounce it correctly because I pronounce it without the R. And I'm Southern. Southern people drop vowels. They drop, and apparently I'm sounding more Southern than ever. My mother was from Chicago and was very. My dad has a very strong Southern accent, but she didn't want her daughters to sound Southern, not because she had a prejudice against it, but because people tend to think you're not very smart if you sound with that accent. But people have been telling me lately that I'm sounding more Southern, which is amusing. But anyway, Southerners drop accent, they drop vowels, they drop letters. My dad drops syllables. You know, there's a country in Europe, Italy. There's Italy. Y'all know Italy. Well, yeah. That's only one of many. But anyway, I won't go down that road. Anyway, her name is Fafa, and I think there is, if people pronounced it, her full name is Farzaneh, so Fafa is a lot easier to say, and we won't worry about the R, even though that's how you spell it. Anyhow, I got a call from her daughter with her in the background that they had gotten a bone density test. The cancer is definitely in her bones, but that gave the doctor good information about why she's having anemia and low energy. And there is an oral chemo treatment that people tolerate very well. And he said he has a 98-year-old patient who's on it and tolerating it. And it has some side effects, but they're not bad. She won't lose her hair. And again, that people could live for years on this medicine. Oh. And she will start it next week, and be 2 weeks on and a week off. And the other alternative was to call hospice. I mean, it's sort of like you either do this treatment or you just are done. So, but I think that I was worried because everything I've known about, treatment for cancer, radiation, chemotherapy, whatever is like so many times the treatment is worse than the illness, and you might extend your life, but you don't really extend, you have a less quality of life. Right. So I thought that was kind of like maybe the decision they'd be facing, but it sounds like she can be on this and still have a decent quality of life and be with us. So that really, I mean, I haven't really had a chance for that to sink in because that just happened like 2 hours ago. We got that phone call. And, but I've been very conscious of that in my mind as not feeling like she was going to be here much longer. And just, I'm pretty sure I told you all, another family friend who lived in Florida passed away over the holidays, and there was a Zoom memorial for her last night, so it's just, pardon me if I'm repeating myself, but they're just like a lot of people from my childhood. They're not necessarily, I mean, Fafa and Jack, are close all my life. They're like family, but a lot of these other people are passing away. I may not have seen or been close to them in these really recent years, but they're kind of like foundational blocks of my childhood that are passing. And I mean, they're in their 70s and 80s, and that's what happens. But well, when Jack passed, I kept saying, all along I've known my mom and dad were going to die, but it never occurred to me that Jack and Fafa would die, it just was sort of like I hadn't transferred that. And we always had thought that Jack would give Dad's eulogy, So, so that's good news about Fafa. And, we were without power on Monday, and it was cold, and I didn't sleep well. And anyway, but Monday was a really bad day. And then Monday night, Kelly I turned out my light and at 12:20,
Yay.
this is the earliest I've been to sleep, and I couldn't tell you how long.
Good for you.
And I felt so good yesterday that, of course, I had to stay up last night. but it's still lingering, and
Atomic habits, man. Give
I
yourself
know.
a win.
I'm given that a win, and even though I didn't respond on your Monday intention or self-care, both ways, it's like I don't want to write it down. If I write like tonight, I'm going to try again. So so that was a win, and
it's good that you felt better too, because that reinforces that there's value, even if it, made you feel like I can stay up forever. It's still, over time you can build on that.
Right. I mean, and there were different things I did Monday night versus last night, and I know what some of those are.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and that's also part of like having a few minutes between getting dad settled and it's time for this, as opposed to, it's like, oh, I could be working on my finances. I could be reading the news on my phone. I could be playing computer games. And it's like, you just need to sit still. You've been going all day. That's what you need at this moment. And so that's part of listening to my body, and knowing that some of that behavior is checking out behavior, which is not necessarily restorative. Sometimes it's necessary, but it's like, that's not what I needed right now.
Yeah.
So I also
and that's valuable time, and it's self-care. Like that's not doing nothing.
Right. Right. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was Mischief, my cat, has the least rules of any cat I've ever owned. I mean, and she is allowed on the dining room table. She's just not allowed where our food is. And if we're eating, like, don't be on this end of the table. But so after I cleared away the plate, I did pick her up in my lap and just, cuddled with her. And it was like, a friend did not send it. I found it. This cat that lived with 3 golden retrievers, and this cat had to be in the middle of the puppy. I mean, they weren't puppies, they were full-grown dogs, but it was this lovely music playing, and the cat was just, finding its way in between these big dogs. And it was like, sometimes they'd put their arm over, their paw over her, and sometimes she would be giving them a bath. And I mean, it was anyway, so I had some cuddle time with my cat.
Yeah.
And then came in here and got everything ready. It was like, I don't want to, so many times I'm late and rushing to get set up in here. So it's like, I got everything. So I know we're not going to go into the work that people aren't finished yet. But I found that really helpful, and not to give away whatever, but, and if you haven't done it yet, one of the questions Kelly asked is, in thinking about the future, this coming year, 2022, and what did not serve you last year, and if you were drowning and those things that did not serve you were weights around your ankle, what would you do? And that just really landed on me, particularly like this whole sleep thing is not serving me. And that visual, I am drowning and these are weights that I don't have to have on my legs. So just in terms of also this intention of what I want the year to bring, some work with Kelly, realizing somehow I got back into this routine and lost sight of what is the fastest way for me to get out of this house. And it was like, where did that go? It was like, that was my goal. And then suddenly I was kind of sunk into routine and everything that was draining me. And so that was another kind of wake up call. So just have a lot to think about and a lot to, and it has motivated me to do some things differently over the holidays. I guess this is our first gathering since the new year. We met after Christmas. So yes, over the holidays, my concern in the beginning was that I would sleep the holidays away, because I've been known to, I'm perfectly capable of sleeping all day and sleeping all night and doing a little here and there. And while I was staying up late, and getting up late during the day, I was getting up and I was doing some things on my list and trying to do some balance of routine and getting out of the house and fun. And it didn't go as planned, but I took it as information to learn about creating this balance. And my therapist talks about it as creating a container and structure. And, I hate the S word, and yet no, I need it. So anyway, there's a lot of information, and the exercise helped me identify, really label where I was, where I got to, and I don't know if this is a word, but concretized, it's like made it much more concrete than just kind of floating in my head. And this idea of starting the year out with the intention, and again, I know we'll get into this more when we share, but I've kind of described my life as a path of stepping stones, from like when I went off to college, so to speak. And about 11 years, there wasn't a stone in front of me, and I've been kind of wandering since then. So I find this process, we're building a path. I'm finding a path. I'm finding where that next stone is.
And we're going to do an exercise tonight that will help with that as well. So that's good. Yeah. And I'm glad that you found that useful. And, I think it'll be really beneficial when everyone's able to share. I think we just had, this was kind of a hectic week okay, Leah's running a little bit late. I just want to tell her it's okay. Yeah, so when everybody's ready next week to share, I think it'll be very valuable, but I'm glad that you found it useful. And the other thing about it is, it's a New Year's, because, Vicky's sick and she was concerned about not being here and not being finished. And I was like, the New Year is an opportunity, because it's a ritual. So it's an opportunity to evaluate. It's an opportunity to look at a stretch, but you could do this anytime. You could do it at your birthday. You could do it, it's good to do it like where you're looking at a certain bank of time, but you could do it from one date of the year to that date the year before, or 6 months, or whatever. It just happens to flow with the ritual of New Year. But this idea of assessment, and not for the purpose of looking back, but for the purpose of understanding and moving forward, so that piece of it, it is already now in the portal. So you can redo this exercise at whatever interval feels good to you, to kind of assess your progress, as you go, because it just so happens to be New Year right now. But all of the rest of it, if you just change the word New Year to since my birthday last year, since this date last year, the value of it isn't in the fact that it's the new year. It's in the idea of taking stock and really understanding, how did you get from one point to another point, and how can you use that to get further toward what you want, Right. I'm just going to tell Leah to come when she can, because she's running a little bit late. Okay. Okay, awesome. Anything else?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you. I'm just so happy to hear about Fafatu. I was thinking about her the other day and sending her some love, and I'm really glad that there's a good option there.
Yeah, and I told her, I said, I'm now part of 2 women's circles. She knows about the one in Virginia, but I was like, and all of them were sending you love and light, and
yes.
So she was like very grateful, and she and Jack have friends around the world, and so she is being inundated with love and prayers from every corner of the world,
And that,
you can't have too many. And she was very appreciative, that I was sharing with my friends who I was close to, and grateful that for you all, even though she doesn't even know you.
yeah, but when you know someone and they love someone, then you feel like you know them, even though you don't.
And that's what I said. They love you because I love you.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Lori or Joanne, you ready to go?
Would you rather me go first, Lori, or what do you?
You logged in before me, so I'll let you go first.
We'll do the login. We'll do login order today. All right. So my week's been pretty good. I guess I saw you last Wednesday, so it was still a very quiet New Year's. Didn't go out, didn't see anybody. In fact, I didn't, other than going up to get supplies. I basically stayed by myself for up until going back to school, which was yesterday, Tuesday. So I had lots of reflection time and lots of quiet time to look at things and work through a few things. And believe it or not, even with all that time, I still did not finish my exercise, because I had scheduled time in for it last night, and then I was alerted by a teacher friend that one of our previous students was sounding very, very dark on Facebook. So I jumped on there and I listened to this poem that he had recorded and written. And it was all about, will you miss me when I'm gone? I don't see the point anymore. I don't, so I jumped on with him and made contact, and so I was Facebooking back and forth with him from about 4:30 till about 7:30, and it was kind of a very it was kind of scary because he was not obviously doing well, but I finally he finally told me what was going on, and so he's struggling with the fact that he is two-spirited, and he is starting HRT, and his mom is not, and his friends, I guess, that they have not reacted well. His family has not reacted well. So just trying to pull him out of the dark abyss and make him realize that there's lots of people out there walking the same path. And I found him some resources and stuff. And I'm just actually, if I kind of look up and stuff, that means that I checked in with him when I got in, and so he's actually messaging me. So I'm here, but I might be typing. I just want to make sure that he's beyond that. What's the point in life? Kind of feeling, right? So that was a bit draining, but it is what it is, and he seems to be good. So that's yay. Yay. And so, and then we've had no kids at work this week, so I'm getting to catch up on all the work I kind of need to catch up on, and I'm able to do it at work and not have to spend my free time doing that. So that's all really good. I'm sort of focusing and working right now on getting more into my body, because I'm in my head most of the time. I'm definitely a brain person. And so I've been working on, like you, it sounds like, Joy, just listening and noticing what my body wants and needs at a particular time, and making sure that I'm giving it what it needs. And I'm also working a little bit on waking up some of the sensual side of myself that I put to bed quite some time ago, when I got arthritis, and was not, it just, yeah, anyways, sex was not a thing, and I've had a couple of experiences that haven't been the greatest, so I'm working on kind of reawakening that and being more flirting with just the ideas, just like smells and stuff, and senses, and what are the smells that I like, and what are the tastes that I like. And I ordered myself a silk blouse, and I've been working on a vision board with Kelly. So I'm coming out of the closet with my just like my student with that. And yeah, I'm glad to be back at work and actually talking to some people again, and adult people, and because we don't have little ones, but yeah, so all in all, it's been a pretty good week. And even though last night was scary, I was glad to be able to be the channel to help, right, to pass on the universe's love to this young guy. So, or sorry, I guess I should say young woman, young transitioning person. Yeah, I hate the new pronoun thing, but I'll get it. Yeah. You're muted, Kelly.
Sorry. That, yeah, it is a challenge for me too, because I think of they and them as like more than one person, as opposed to, so I have to work with that in my.
Right? I'm an English teacher. I'm the grammar police.
I am also, I'm not an English teacher, but I'm grammar police. And I'm like, that is plural. It's very hard.
I think it is plural, like for the binary, the non gender specific person, not someone who's transitioning to a different gender, but someone who's identifying as both genders. I think it is plural, and that's the part, like trying to just, it be, my brain be inclusive of their experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a lot of young kids. There's definitely kids in my school who are identifying at 10 or 11. So it's,
well, I don't understand, like there's so much of this that where we, our choices were made with very rigid definitions attached to them, and so if you don't do that, what would people do? If you don't have to, it's like it's interesting, in terms of like pansexuality. And then I see that in my son William. He definitely has, he's super in touch with his feminine and his masculine side, so would not surprise me at all if he is they them at all,
right.
And I mean, to me, I just don't want to, like interfere with his development and impose something on him that is coming from me or from society. If that's who he is, I don't care, like it doesn't make any difference to me as long as he feels comfortable with himself, whatever that is, and so that's where the trying to get my brain to, like, and we haven't had that conversation, other than I've told him that some people don't identify as male or female, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting, the generation now that is coming up with fewer of those labels. They're still getting it, like your student, they're getting backlash for their choices from the people in their lives, but a lot of people in the same generation are more accepting, more open, and you could certainly at least find it on the internet. You can find
Yeah.
other people that can validate your experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was hooking him up with. We're uh, Native Urban Youth was one of them, and Soaring Eagle was another that are really focused on Indigenous,
Yeah.
two-spirited, etc. So
Well,
I hope
was, that's how it was for gay people, like people coming out, and I lived in California. So even in a liberal state, it was very challenging. People were, I mean, it's still, some poor man in downtown Atlanta was put in the hospital for being gay just this week. So, it's not then, it's now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still ignorant people. I mean, when we live in an urban, Vancouver is pretty cosmopolitan, but we still have gay bashing and stuff going on. But most people are very open to all sorts of differences: color, race, religion, sexuality, the whole thing in more urban areas. But I think that there's lots of just non-knowledge and ignorance, and then people react with fear to that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
No, that's good, thanks.
And I love that you're sharing your journey in the group too. And I did find that group episode on Netflix, but I couldn't figure out how to send it to you. So I'll just send you the name of it.
Okay,
I did.
great.
Lori, you ready?
Sure. Joanne, I just want to say on behalf of all the mothers that have children are in places like your student, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving him someone to connect with and reach out to, and someone to understand him. And thank you. And kudos to you, and love and support to you, because that's not an easy place to be. That's hard. So thank you.
That's so worth it. So worth it.
I'm just tired. I'm just tired.
You must be.
Aurelia is home and doing well. They never could figure out, she had the ovarian cysts, well, the one really large one. I mean, there were two good sized ones. They 4 centimeters and 6 centimeters. They drained the 6 centimeter. They didn't drain the 4 centimeter, which they're thinking it will just it should just kind of go away. They just kind of come and go. And so I'm hoping, I mean, to me, that's still a pretty big size, but so I don't know, but the pain, she's not experiencing near that pain. And they said there was an infection somewhere in her body, but they still could never pinpoint where. They did really emphasize that they did all sorts of tests, and they did STD tests, and they came back negative, but they were really emphasizing that, wear condoms and talk to your partner and have him get tested, and even though the test came back negative. So I don't know, I'm not sure why they were pushing that so hard. I don't know. So that's kind of, just circling in my mind. And then yeah, I don't know, there's lots of things still just circling in my mind. um yeah, and it's good. I'm so glad that we're home and she is doing better. I think both her and I were hoping, okay, maybe through all of this, maybe we'll learn something else about her, physically, or that may be affecting mentally. And I don't think that's the case. I think everything she was experiencing was a short-term thing, not something that's, that's been prolonged over years. So I think we were both kind of, she was in tears, when she came home. She's like, okay, this puts me right back where I was. So I don't know. So I've got a lot of mixed emotions, and I know she does too. And I'm just tired. I'm still tired. And I had a new child start yesterday. He only comes twice a week. He's a COVID kid, so he has been at home all along. So he's almost 2, but has no experience being around other kids. And so I knew he would be shy, but I wasn't thinking through all the, what repercussions that would have. Well, he doesn't know how to interact with the other kids, and so he's pushing them. And I've got 2 little ones that are just barely walking, and so he goes over and just pushes them over, and then they cry, and so then he runs away, and so then I have to, and he also doesn't know the rules that if things are on the counter, you don't touch things that are on the counter. Even if you can reach them, you don't touch them. Well, he doesn't know that rule. He doesn't know that we don't pet the animals. We blow kisses and wave to the animals, but we stay out of their bubbles. And so he's going around trying to hug the cats and taking safety pins off of the counter and pushing everybody over. And I'm the last 2 days have been challenging, and he only comes twice a week, which that's good that I only have to deal with that twice a week. But also, the more days he's here, then the quicker he's going to learn the rules, because by next Tuesday he will have forgotten everything that I tried to do with him the last 2 days. And I had another one, she's 18 months, and she just thinks it's the greatest thing to take her pants off. And so all day long, I am telling her, no, your pants stay on, keep them on, keep them on. And I've got another one who's 14 months old that likes to go up to all the gates and shake them, which is fine. However, it's loosening all the screws and putting holes in my walls when he does that. So I'm like, no, shake all day long. That's just, I'm telling him, no shaking, pants on, no pushing, no hugging the cats. And I'm tired.
It's a circus.
Yes.
Oh,
And
man.
I'm just tired.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. And, and sleep in the hospital for whatever it was, 3 nights, I think, 4 days, 3 nights. Yeah. I mean, sleep is non-existent in the hospital. And so I feel like I'm still running on adrenaline. Really. I don't know. I'm kind of afraid at whatever point I'm going to crash. I'm afraid I'm going to crash. So I'm trying to just take it moment by moment, breathe deep.
Will you get a chance to rest on the weekend?
I think so. But, and taking care of Aurelia, and you never know how those days are going to go. And I never know what's going to, I don't know. But I don't have anything on the calendar really for this weekend. So I'm hoping.
Do like a all day movie day in the bed, jammy day.
that would be nice. I don't know if I'll get that, but maybe part of the day at least.
Yeah.
But it's, and I know some of you saw one of my Facebook posts about, waking up in the hospital and just having doom and gloom, and that it was just this heavy feeling in my chest, and trying to say, okay, shake it off, but acknowledge it. But so as I was acknowledging it, but as I was writing about it, then it was bringing me down farther and farther and farther. So I was like, oh, okay, I need to acknowledge it, but I can't let it overwhelm me. And so I was like, okay, desperately thinking, okay, I have to think of some positives. I have to think of some light. But I'm like, I just don't see, I don't see any, I don't feel any. I could list off, oh, sure, the sun is shining, family loves us, we've got supportive doctors. I could list stuff, but I didn't feel any of it. And so that's where I had to go back to the very, very basics of, I've got a warm blanket and I'm sitting in the corner of my couch and I'll have a cup of coffee soon. And I have a journal that I can write down. And that was it. That's all I could come up with. But it was something, and it was enough to keep me hanging on and get into the day. But that's kind of where I woke this morning to, just that panicky feeling. So I'm back to basics right at the moment. And I was looking at all the journaling questions today, and I was just reading them, and I was like, just reading them, I'm like overwhelmed already. And so I it's like, okay, no, I'm not gonna have it done for today, and I'm just not gonna have it done.
And I don't think you want to answer that. I don't think you want to do the exercise in the space that you're in right now, because you're really coming off of this very traumatic experience, not having been able to even rest, and now you've got like a pack of little demons, like, so to me, even if you don't have it done next week, like you gotta rest, and you gotta feel that you're in a place of equilibrium. You feel like you can go back to the then and the now and look at the how, because everything that's happened has nothing to do with last year. This is now, this year, and it's not reflective of any of that. And so I don't think you should do the exercise until you feel like you can look objectively at what you already worked on, because it's really bridging the two pieces you already did. So you want to kind of be in a place where you feel like, and not that you're letting this go, but that it's not so prominent, and that you're rested, because that part is just, when you're overwhelmed emotionally and physically and not rested, it's very difficult. What your thoughts and your feelings are not really reality. They're so much influenced by trauma, by the experience of sleep deprivation and the physical, trying to sleep on a couch in a hospital, all that stuff. It impacts you. So, I think that I wouldn't, until you feel like you're kind of, back to where, it's not ruling your experience in the moment, then do the exercise.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I think that just to acknowledge the difficulty, and it's not about feeling sorry for yourself. It's not about being negative, but I think you really, like you were already dealing with a very difficult situation. And then piled on top of that is this medical crisis, where for a period of time, you didn't even know what was going on, and your child was in extreme physical pain, and, and then having to stay in the hospital, and everything that goes along with that, not knowing what's happening with her, all of those things, her being in that severe pain that even painkillers were not helping her, like there's value in just allowing, like, that is a lot on top of a lot, and that of course you're exhausted, and it's unfortunate that these, the new kids are, and, that you're having these kinds of challenges on top of everything else, but it is a lot. And I honestly, I have no idea how you're functioning, and it is a testament to your strength, that you are able to continue to function, especially at the level that you're functioning, given everything that you have going on. So, just to acknowledge how incredibly strong you are. You are using it at this moment in time to survive and to persevere, but that's not the only thing that it can be used for. And you are crazy strong.
Oh, thank you. When we were in there was one day in the hospital that was just awful. She was in pain. She hadn't eaten in 2 days because first she didn't feel like eating. And then when she felt like maybe she could eat, they said, well, you might have some surgery coming up, so you can't eat. So she went 2 days without eating, all the pain, she has a nauseous stomach just in general. So with all of this on top and the pain meds, and so she was just in such, and she even threw up several times. I mean, it was a terrible, it was a terrible day. And my brother said, it's the worst when you see your child like that, and there's not, you're helpless. There's nothing you can do. And I was thinking, yeah, I totally agree with that. But I was like, you know what? Over the last several years, whether it be physical pain or mental pain, I have been at that spot so many times over the last 3 years where she is in extreme pain, and all I can do is just sit with her and change nothing. That's so it was difficult in the hospital enduring all of that, but part of me was like, you know what, this isn't that much different than what the last 3 years have been like. It's just more, it's more physical pain, more extreme, but we both have felt in that same place many times.
The only thing that I would say is I really strongly disagree that you're not doing anything. I think that when you sit with someone when they are in any kind of pain, and you are there for them and you love them, it is huge. It's huge. And it only doesn't seem huge to you because you do it all the time. But for people who have had experiences and they don't get that, there isn't somebody there isn't, and that's many people, and so the value of being there for someone, even when it's just your presence that you can provide and your love, is huge. It is a lot.
Well, I hope so. I hope so. I hope it makes some kind of difference.
Well, if you imagine if she went through that and you weren't there.
Yeah.
I mean, how much different and worse would it have been? And
yeah.
there's people that have that experience, for one reason or another, where they don't get that. And so it's very valuable, very, very valuable. And again, I think that these capacities, these gifts that you have can be used in a lot of different ways, so although right now you're focusing on them, on survival and perseverance and providing as much support as you can for your daughter, they're very valuable and can be redirected when it's appropriate and when you want to, toward other things, and can be used for anything that you would want to do, because that kind of will, that kind of strength is very valuable.
That's good. I'll have to remember that.
Yes, and rest and sleep when you can.
Yes, as soon as this meeting's over, I'm gonna brush my teeth, let the dogs out, and I want to come lay down and go to bed.
I'm just gonna check and see if Leah came back. She didn't. Okay, so I don't know if she's gonna pop up in here or not. We'll see. So what I wanted to focus on today, it's kind of a twist on limiting beliefs, but I think it may yield some new information about the way that you might be preventing yourself from moving forward. And again, Lori, if this is too much, it'll be on tape and you don't have to do it, and don't worry about it.
Okay.
But so and I was walking today and I was listening to Happy Pocket Full of Money again. And there's a piece there that he talks about conditionality. And I never thought about this before I heard it in this book. And it's really related to limiting beliefs, but it's a different way to conceptualize it. So what he says is that there is no such thing as conditionality, and that we put conditions on things, and that those conditions are essentially traps that we've created for ourselves, that in the belief that there is a condition, and that we create the condition, so that there is no condition. And then by deciding that there is a condition, we therefore create the condition and entrap ourselves in the condition. So I'm going to give you the example that he gives in the book. And the book is focused on material wealth, but it's not only, it's really not. And so the example that he gives is somebody who thinks that in order to be wealthy, you have to have had a college education, right? And that there are many people in the world who believe in the condition of education for success, financial success. And so they have set that up in their world. In their world, you have to have a college degree. And he mentions also you have to be born in a certain place, you have to have this or have that. And so, but that we all do it all the time. And that when you have these conditions, either I can't be, a person in general can't be, or society can't be without X, Y, or Z, then you have essentially, and again, I have no idea if this is true or not, but it's interesting to me, the idea of, do we create the obstacle and then have it as an obstacle, or is it really an obstacle? And that's what he's saying. What he's saying is that it doesn't exist until you make it up and put it there, or you hear it from someone and you believe it and you put it there, and then it's real. And once you put it there, once you have faith in it, it is real, becomes real in the moment that you have faith in it. And so I wanted to look at that and think about it in various aspects of life, and what are the conditions that we are putting, that we have given belief and faith to, that are not serving us. Does that make sense? So I have, I got to send these to myself. I have questions. I have journaling questions for this. And so let me just send them to myself. I forgot to do that part. And it's just one question, but looking at different areas of life. And I think that what might be helpful is when you think about that area, like there's one for health, there's one for wealth, there's one for career, because a lot of times people will put career and wealth together. And this dude very strongly is like, what you do and whether or not you have any money have nothing to do with each other, right? Which that's not what we were told. We were not told that what we do and our money have nothing to do with each other, right? But that's, this dude's position is job, career, and wealth are not, they're not the same thing, right? And also relationships, and in relationships, that's every kind of relationship, friendship, child, parent, sibling, romantic, all kinds of relationships. So you can list in there anything that comes in any of those categories. And so when you think about it, think about, like, when you think about your health, do you think, oh, if this or that condition, I would be healthier if I didn't have, either could be something physical, could be like, oh, there's a condition of, I don't have access to healthy food, or, I don't have money to shop at Whole Foods, or whatever the conditions are, like whatever you've put in the way, like either you think that there's something related to your health, that if something weren't there, if there was, or something has to happen. Does that make sense? In terms of what the conditions are. So like either if something wasn't in your way, or something has to be there in order for you to be successful. And you can be broad in brainstorming. Like if you think it might be a condition, just list it down. Don't get too concerned about whether or not it's really a condition, because the idea is we're trying to unearth what is our thinking that may not be serving us, right? Okay, so I'm going to put these. Oh, hey, Leah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Why don't you do your check-in? We were about to do some journaling, but you can do your check-in first.
Okay. Yeah, so it's been kind of a bit of a crazy, well, I just haven't been feeling very good. And yeah, I just went and got blood work done. Cause yeah, well, kind of TMI, but like, well, I think I've known my body's been like kind of screwed up for a bit. But I ended up, and it is kind of a one-off, but I ended up getting two heavy periods, like 2 weeks apart. So like I had a period 2 weeks, like 2 weeks ago. And then I got another one like on the week, and it's still just like finished. Yeah. And they're heavy. And I already have like iron. I'm already anemic. Like well, not anemic, but my iron is always on the lower end. So anytime I am bleeding too much, it's a bit of a concern for me, because I don't really have any iron storage. And it's just weird. Like I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I felt like yesterday I could barely work. I felt really, because it was just constant flow that I thought I was gonna pass out like I was just like so weak. And so I went to my doctor. I got an appointment with my doctor today, and because I think it's my thyroid, which would make sense on some of the stuff that I've been dealing with. And my thyroid has been off in the past, so it's been an issue in the past. So yeah, I don't know. I wanted to get the blood work done like right away, because then it's quicker to get it treated. I didn't want to sit and I don't know how it is in the States, but yeah, like I had to sit. It takes forever to get stuff done. Like, you want to book, if I was gonna book an appointment to get blood work, the next available appointment was like end of January, early February. So I just walked in. But then when you're a walk-in,
Gotta wait.
yeah, you're not priority. So
That's get seen.
Well, it's actually with COVID, they're all like, they're bananas, because it's like, yeah, I think they're operating on, I don't know, the wait times are like extreme now. So yeah, but yeah, no, it was better just to walk in and get it done. And then I'm hoping to get the results by hopefully end of the week, maybe beginning of next week. Because yeah, I think it might, if it is off, it might offer some answers to why I'm so tired and yeah.
Thyroid, a lot of thyroid stuff is really treatable.
Yeah, like my daughter actually, it's unusual. She's only 15, but she got diagnosed with she had severe hypothyroidism, which is unusual for children. But so yeah, she's on Synthroid. And so like I said, like a year or two, like about a year and a half ago, my thyroid levels were off. So my family doctor at the time was like, oh yeah, like you gotta she prescribed me thyroid medication. And then I didn't really, I don't know, I didn't really like, I said I didn't like it. And then when they do kind of with the thyroid, you do like repeated tests, like they keep checking your levels like at different intervals. And eventually they kind of like went back to normal. So, but there is a condition called, it's called, like my mom had it. It's called Hashimoto's. And it's where your body attacks the thyroid gland. It's an autoimmune. And so my mom, she ended up getting that after she had my sister. So my family doctor said it's probably like the beginning, like because your body slowly, like it's a kind of a slow death of the thyroid gland, right? It can take years for it to reach completion.
Mhm.
So it could be that it's like slowly kind of like fading. So it has moments where it's like, oh yeah, I'm good. And then, right. And then, so I don't know. It might be functioning normal sometimes, and then other times it's dying. So I don't know. I'll be interested because I haven't had it tested now for like a year. So it could be. And then I got my iron levels checked because I know I'm always iron deficient pretty most of the time. So yeah, the doctor sent me for like, I got vials and vials done. So he's B12 and folate and my blood clotting. So like it was just everything under the sun. So
That's good.
yeah. And then I met the new psychiatrist yesterday. And we couldn't do the whole, like he didn't have enough time slotted to do the whole intake, but he's so much better than the other guy. Yeah, so much better. But I love him and I hate him at the same time because like he's very he's the opposite of the other guy. He's very gentle, very like sensitive. He's like, Leah, you got to be more compassionate with yourself. And he's just like, and I'm like, I know. I said, I'm working on it. I said, but yeah, he like a psychiatrist. He's like, you need to have self-compassion, Leah. And I was like, that's awesome that a psychiatrist is telling me that.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. So yeah, he was going through a thorough kind of history, and he did say that he goes for the amount of, he's like, I am not a proponent of long-term med use. He says, when I hear that you've been on these meds for 7-8 years, he's like, that is alarming. He's like, I really don't use meds in that way. And he goes, that's probably contrary to what you've heard in the past. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I've always been it's been hammered into me that like it's a chemical imbalance and that I need these meds, right? And he's like, sometimes he says like he goes, some of your obsessive thoughts, yeah, like that it does need medication, like that often needs medication, but he said most often, and he goes, when I listen to what you know, your history, he says often it's psychosocial. Those are things that are triggering anxiety, depression, right? It's that the psychosocial situation, like, you know, like what you're going, you know, and that there's, he says, I'm more of improving coping skills and healthy habits than just prescribing med. So in some ways I was like, oh, that's good, but then I'm like, I want my meds. I'm like, give me my drugs. I just want my drugs.
I don't think he's taking your drugs today.
Huh?
Not taking them today.
My drugs?
Yeah. I think it's a plan, right? A process.
Oh yeah. Well, he was like, yeah, we're gonna, because I take a sleeping med every night, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna come up with a plan to get you off that sleeping med. And I'm like, I was like, I know, like, I love that med. But it just shows that I'm like very, there is like a huge, yeah, there's a dependence for sure. And it is, I guess, a flaw of our system that we just give people meds, and then like no one's ever even approached me about coming off, like that I should be coming off of them, or so. Yeah, so anyway, so the thing that really impressed me is we couldn't finish the whole session that I got yesterday. So then he goes, are you available on Saturday? And I'm like, what? I'm like, you work Saturday? And he's like, no, I don't. But he's like, I really want to finish this.
Nice.
So I was like, that just, yeah, shows that he cares, right?
Yeah. And will he be in contact with your therapist? Because it seems like they could make a good team working together.
Yeah. So like they're under the same clinic. It's all the same. Yeah. So yeah, there will be like yeah. Oh, I assume communication between the two. So I'm gonna finish the intake on Saturday with him, and then I'll see kind of where he wants to go like from there. But yeah, I have such mixed emotions because I don't know, like I've been on medication since I was 20. So I don't know if I'll be interested to see what he wants to do in terms, but
Well, I mean, from everything you've said, he doesn't want to harm you. So I don't think he's going to do anything that would, you know, hurt you. But I think the idea that maybe there's a path that involves less medication could be a good thing. And especially thinking about now that you have your therapist actually doing the work for the parts that are related to, you know, your history and clearing those things out and being able to see if you process those things, how does that impact your anxiety, your depression? How are those things? But I don't, I mean, he's a psychiatrist, so he's definitely not going to not use the medication if that's
well, I found it funny because he goes, yeah, I'm not really a fan of like long-term med use. And then I'm like, you're a psychiatrist, isn't that like your whole business? So like that tells me that, because the easiest route is just to throw a med at someone, right?
Is it really? Because how has it worked for you?
No. well, no, I mean for the psychiatrist.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it says a lot about his values because,
No,
yeah.
yeah,
But-
that's what I'm saying. Like, the easiest route for a psychiatrist to take is just be like, take this, take this, right? So the fact that he isn't really doing that, yeah, it shows me that he's taking the time and he's thoughtful and intentional about
And that he sees them as tools, not solutions.
exactly.
Because that's really, medication, some people need medication always, and they always will, and it's good for them. And other people need it, situationally and while they're processing things and so there's no way to know because you've been on medication for such a long time. There's no way to know right now. But just in terms of like the concern, it seems like he's a very ethical person and a very thorough person and got your best interest at heart. And so he's going to use all the tools that he has and hopefully the therapists have, to try to find a holistic approach to supporting you,
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I really what he stands for, I love, but then because he's so contrary to like what I'm used to, I kind of hate it because I've become very accustomed to being on antidepressants, and I don't think he's ever saying like I'll come off, like I won't need any meds, but I definitely think I'm like unnecessarily or overly medicated right now, for sure. Like I'm on a lot of meds, high doses, and the benefits are minimal. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so I think it could be the beginning of something exciting.
no, I agree. Like it's something different that I haven't pondered for since I was like 20. So yeah, no, I think learning, because like you say, like I've been on meds for most of my adult life, and where has it gotten me? Right? I just end up in the same, every so many years, I end up in the same kind of, like a crisis, right? And it's because I'm taking these drugs, but I'm not learning any tools or skills.
Or
Right.
processing the stuff that's old and weighing you down. I think that part, like that to me is when medication can be concerning, is when it's used in place of therapy. When it's used in conjunction with therapy, I think it's really valuable. But when it's used in place of therapy and people don't end up processing the things there are things that can be biological, chemical, that need medication. Short-term, long-term, doesn't matter. But then there are things that are, psychodynamic, that are about your history, about the messages, about your experiences that you haven't processed. And so it's like getting through those and then seeing does it impact how you feel or not, and you won't know until you do that work, whether or not it changes how you feel at a fundamental level, and how that may or may not influence your medication.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a very curious road that I'm on. Like it's very unknown, and I'm resistant to change, but I also love change at the same time. So it's a bit of a contradiction, but I think I do enjoy change. Like the humdrum wears me down, like the boring, but yeah, I think obviously like I don't want to be more miserable than I already have been. So It's just really that avoidance of pain that I'm always,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that may be too about creating a different relationship with pain. You know, that maybe there's a way to see it where it's not bad.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
So that kind of leads into the exercise that we were about to do. So the idea of conditions, if you have either imposed yourself or accepted the conditions someone else put out in order for you to move forward in any particular area of your life, and maybe not even you, maybe it's everyone. The example that I was giving from this book, Happy Pocket Full of Money, was if you, for example, there are people who believe in order to be successful financially, you have to have gone to college. And so for that person, that's a condition. In order to be successful, I can't be successful because I didn't go to college. And in order to be financially successful, I have to have gone to college. And so therefore it's sort of out of their realm of possibility because that condition exists and they don't meet the condition, right? So we're going to brainstorm what conditions, and it's sort of another way to look at limiting beliefs, but they're more, they in many cases can be more in the collective consciousness, you know, so we don't think of this is my limiting belief. We think, oh, well, this is just a fact, right? And yet, you know, that's not true. You know, that like you don't have to be rich to get rich. You don't have to have gone to college to get rich. You don't have to, you know, like there are so many examples of people in all walks of life who have not needed that condition. And yet, if you believe in that condition, then another example he gives is like if you have to be born in a certain part of the world, or you know, you have to be you know, like tall to play basketball, you know, like, and there are people who have not believed that condition and have been in the 5-foot range and played professional basketball. So it's the things that the conditions that you believe about any certain area of your life that are preventing you from moving forward. So you believe it about you, or you believe it about everyone, right? And I'm putting the questions in the chat now. So it's covering various areas of your life, and we're just brainstorming. So there's no wrong answers. Like, for example, Leah, if you would think, you know, in order to function at my best, I need to take medication. That could be a condition, right? That you've placed on yourself as an example in health. So just brainstorm any things, any conditions that you think have to be in place in order for you to get where you want to go. So when you think about a certain area, when you think of your health, when you think where you ideally would like to be, what are the barriers? Because those are the conditions that you've put in place. And don't try to question whether they're facts or they're not. Just brainstorm on in all of these areas. And again, with relationships, just put the type of relationship it is. You can put the person's name, or you can put, you know, mother or whatever, but it's all relationships. So you don't have to limit yourself to a certain type of relationship. And do you have conditions for, you know, like how that relationship is successful in the future, you know, and even maybe how you define that. So if you have any questions, just let me know. And otherwise, we're just going to brainstorm in each of these categories, anything that you think is a condition for you to think about where do you want to go? Ideally, where would you be in that area? And then what are the conditions that you've put in place in order for you to get there? So if you look at barriers, they're probably conditions, or any thoughts that you have, general societal level thoughts about people in general or you specifically. That make sense?
Yeah, so I kind of zoned out for a second Did you mention, so we're putting where we want to be in that area of life?
What are the conditions? For example, like if with career, well, I would be a rocket scientist, but I have to, I'd have to do 12 years of college in order to be a rocket scientist, right? So some people would say that's a fact, but it's also a condition. Does that make sense?
Because yeah, like, so it, where you want to be in that particular area will depend on your conditions.
Well, no, because I think that you don't want to say, I want to be a rocket scientist. Like, what's the condition between me and being a rocket scientist if you don't want to be a rocket scientist, right? So
Yeah.
like, you want to look at what do you really want? Like, let's say you wish you ideally you had $10 million in the bank, right? And then think about what are the things that come in your mind that say that's not possible for you. It's those things that come into your mind that say, well, I'd have to have money in order to invest money, in order to make money. Those are the conditions you believe that you can't have 10 million, whatever the reasons are, you believe you couldn't have $10 million in the bank right now. Those are the conditions that you believe in.
Okay.
Sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, so just, we'll put done in the chat when you're done brainstorming on all of those. It may be that some other things occur to you, over the next week or so, and you could just jot them down and add them in. So anybody can share, and you can share, your specific things, general things, that you learned, or the specific conditions that you feel that you have in your way, whatever works. Anybody ready to share?
Sure. I don't know if I'm not quite sure if I did this right, because they're all like kind of negative conditions, but anyways, you can.
And also, I just made this up listening to this dude talk. So there's the right way. It's never been done before. So there's no way.
Awesome. Trailblazers. Okay, so around health, I said you need to give up all the good things like wine, good food, and fun to be healthy. You have to torture yourself to be healthy, deprive yourself, sweat, hurt, pull muscles, etc. Career, the higher up you get, the more.
Sound like conditions.
Yes, right? But they're all like very, I don't know, because they're
well, the conditions, the way that he's talking about them are they're barriers, they're conditions they're things that you believe that are preventing you from moving. So yeah, I think that's accurate.
And these are the thoughts that came to me. So,
yeah.
I sort of talking about trying to exercise and do all these kinds of things. I have been thinking about that, and what's the, why am I so resistant to it? So I think that those are stories I've been telling myself for a long, long time, right? That you have to be no fun and it's yucky.
Do you see the James Clear thing that I posted in the group about that? Because I think it's a really good, if you haven't, I would take a look at it, because it's really from that research perspective, the same thing of, if you are choosing torture, you won't do it, right? So it's about reconceptualizing whatever the habit is. Don't choose a habit that you hate. You have to figure out what is a habit that is, if you take into account health, like eating as a general category or exercise as a general category, what do you like? Like we talked a bit about dance, like if you like to dance, then don't try to force yourself to do something that feels like torture and all of those things. Pick something where it feels like you're not exercising, you know, where that's where you're going to be successful. But I also think we can work on the conditions as well. So sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. For career, it was the higher up you get, the more you have to sell yourself out and lose your integrity. Power corrupts. Wealth, you have to be born with money to be wealthy. You have to compromise your values to be wealthy. Wealthy people exploit others. You have to know investments and stock market and etc. You know, the sort of lack of knowledge. So relationships, you have to change yourself to be in a relationship. No one will love you the way you are. And these are all very blanket and very, you know, sort of quick. I don't believe that all the time, for sure, but these are, you know, these are thoughts in my head.
Don't be sure that you don't believe it, because it came out while you were brainstorming. So a lot of times when you get on a roll when you're brainstorming, you're tapping into some subconscious areas where they are, it is, you know, that you may have observed that in your life at some time, and then without knowing it, or you observed it on a societal level. It's usually more personal, and then you just extrapolate it out. Oh, in order to be in a successful relationship, you can't be yourself, you know, and just got filed away back there, you know. It doesn't mean that your thinking brain necessarily agrees with it, but it's not your thinking brain that is in charge of most of what happens. So even if you would say, oh, I don't agree with that statement, if it came out, it's entirely possible that in your subconscious, that belief exists, that condition exists.
Yeah, internalized, definitely. So happiness, and I just listed, I would be happy if I had more money, was better looking, had more prestige, better clothes. Happiness is contingent on others.
There you go.
There you go.
I think it's really helpful, because I think it comes up with new limiting beliefs that can be worked on, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was like, whoa, there's like a lot of very negative stuff here.
It's good, because if you don't acknowledge that somewhere it's real for you, you know, because it's not about judging whether you should feel that way or you shouldn't feel that way. Some part of you does feel that way, otherwise it wouldn't have come out of your pen. And so when you realize that, then you can start to look at how might that condition be, you know, lifted? How might that condition be massaged into something else, you know, so to create more possibility for you, you know? Yeah. And if your conscious brain doesn't feel that way, how do you reconcile? You know, because that's one of the things, is if your subconscious and your conscious are in conflict, then there's not flow, you know? Cool. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else ready to go?
I can go. Yeah, I kind of had the same feeling as Joanne, where I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, but I think it was all like, yeah, I saw them as barriers, so they're essentially negative. So with health, I mean, I just put that I need to feel good enough to work out a meal plan. So like when I feel like shit, I can't do anything for my health, because then I don't feel like working out, and I don't have the energy to meal plan and buy good food.
So that condition is a prison. That condition is a prison for you, because that's a vicious cycle of, you know, not feeling good enough to do the things that would help
That
you.
will make me feel good.
Yeah. Going. No,
Uh,
but there's no value in judging it. It's so great to see, because only when you can see it can you start to address it. You know, if
yeah.
you deny
Well,
it,
for me,
judge it, you can't do anything about it.
mhm. Well, and I recognize that it's limiting, but it's I do, I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. I can't do it. Like I don't it's not, I'm not feeling it, so I can't do it. Right. And but yeah, and then I just put like in order to be for me to be considered healthy, I need to be fit and able-bodied.
Mhm.
So like I did think like if I ever ended up in a wheelchair, like that would, I don't know. Like you'd have, yeah, I don't know what like what I would be able to do then, but yeah, define, yeah, it's you'd have to redefine based on your circumstances, like what healthy is. But me right now, yeah, like it's being in shape and able to do stuff. Like strength is health to me. Career, I need to take my work seriously and like continue and advance myself. I need to be educated.
Wait, I think that that's got into more of like an intention statement. I would try to phrase that in order to advance, or in order to, like, what does a person have to do? What is it that the person needs to get it? What are they going to get if they get serious, if they, whatever that other thing was? Because
Oh, I see.
in order to advance, in order to make more
Well,
money, in order to,
well, I think I was looking at it more of like just having a career, like even just possession of a career.
you don't feel like you have a career.
No, I do. No, I do feel like I have a career, but I'm I think my outlook on my career is so base right now
Yeah.
that just
But
even
what if you did those things? If you were serious and whatever the other thing was, what would happen? What would be the result of that in your imagination?
just that I would be able to maintain what I have and be good at it.
So, okay, so in order to maintain a job and be considered good at it, or be good at it?
Well, I guess it's all subjective.
Yeah.
But
A person needs to be serious and what?
well, and to be advanced, like constantly learning.
Okay. Continuously learning. So in order to maintain a career and be good at it, you have to be serious and continuously educating yourself.
Yes. Like I think like it's the opposite of stagnation. Like, you know, like some people, they just show up to their job, they just go through the they're just like blah, 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 and go home.
But you need to understand there are millions of people around the world who maintain their jobs and who are even often considered good at their jobs, who don't do either one of those things. They don't take their job seriously and they don't continuously educate themselves.
Mhm.
So you see how that's a condition that you are subscribing to. It's not a fact, right? And the other piece is we're not looking at like goal statements. It's not something we want to do. It's what do we believe is is a condition. Like, so in order to keep my job and be considered good at my job, I have to be serious and I have to be constantly educating myself.
Well, yeah, and I was looking at it too, of like some of the pressures, the unnecessary pressures that I put on myself, like on a because if I ever go to work, like kind of like when I go to work checked out,
Yeah.
I feel very guilty about that because
Joy can tell you my opinion about this. Seriously, like, to me, if you're giving more to your job than you are to yourself, You got you got the wrong like ratio formula going on, you know?
Yeah, I got the wrong ratio.
Yeah, but I subscribe to that condition for a very long time, that you know, my treatment of others was more important than my treatment of myself for
Mhm.
years and years. I believe that. And that my value was represented in the work product that I could,
Mhm.
right? And whether or not I was helping other people in my job, right? Those were all things that I subscribed to. They were all conditions that I had in order for me to be successful in my own mind, right?
Mhm.
And they were their conditions. There's plenty of people who are successful in their jobs without any of those things. And the other question is it a condition that we are to value our work over ourselves? Is it a condition that we are to value our children over ourselves, our parents over ourselves,
Mhm.
right? Are those facts or are those conditions that we have either accepted or put on ourselves,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So that's the reason that I'm saying this to you is I want you to write it out as a condition, not because it almost sounded like a goal statement, the way that you had it. So just to be clear that this is a belief, this is something you subscribe to, that in order to maintain your job and to be considered good at your job, you have to be serious about it and you have to be continuously educating yourself. And we're not judging the conditions, we're just putting them out to be seen, right?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, wealth. Yeah, like this one's like I need to make more money to have more money. That's
So people need to have money to make money. I would just put it that way, because that's a very common belief that and at a societal level, that in order to grow your wealth, you have to have money to make money.
well, yeah, and my belief is that the reason why I have no money is because I don't make enough money.
Okay, so you have to make money to have money, to have more. You have to make
Like
money.
my income needs to be larger in order to have more money.
Okay, yeah, you have to earn more money to have more money.
Yes.
Okay, so write that down. I have to earn more money, have more money. Because that one, again, that's a prison right there.
Um,
It's not what wealthy people do. They don't earn more money to have more money.
I'm very much like, oh, I just gotta work harder. I gotta work more. I just gotta work more and I'll have more money. It's
People who are wealthy are not trading time for money.
yeah.
They're not. So
Yeah.
that
And it's like that whole kind, work smart, not hard, or whatever whatever the saying is. I just work hard. I'm like, I don't know about the smart part. I just
yeah, but you can't,
more.
if you think, oh, if I could just trade my time for more money, then I would be good. That's not wealth consciousness. Wealth consciousness is not about trading time for money. But again, I'm trying to help you clarify.
Yeah.
But so in order to have more money, I have to earn more money. I think that's there.
Yeah. And then I need to like budget and be in better control of my finances to have more money.
Okay.
And so the reason why I don't have wealth is because I manage my money poorly.
So so people, in order to be financially well off, you have to be a good budgeter and a good manager of your money.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then relationships, like I need to have my life together and be emotionally stable for someone to want to be with me.
For a romantic relationship, that a person has to be together and stable to have a romantic relationship.
Mhm. Most people won't take the time to get to know me if I'm a hot mess.
Desired, right? To be desired. So not so much to have one, but to be, for someone to be interested in you. I think you said in that one, right?
Yeah, well, I think they'll see like this, they'll be like, oh, like, wow, there's too much going on there. I
Mm,
don't want that.
okay.
It's like too much. And I'm in a habit of where I tried, my pattern in the past has always been like, be as little as possible. Like, I will like down myself so that I'm not perceived as too much. Right? So I like stuff myself in a box. Then it's, I'm not very much. I'm just a little package. I'm not complicated. I'm not, but that doesn't work either.
Well,
What, FYI, that doesn't work.
Well, I'm sure you're not attracting a person that would be right for you. If you're
No.
not.
Yeah, and the last thing I need to be pleasing and accommodating and charming in order.
Yeah, those are all conditions for sure.
Yeah. Happiness, I need to feel safe and secure in my life in order to be happy. I need to feel healthy and thriving. And just that things need to feel right in order for me to be happy. It's all about feeling, yeah. And then I need to feel like I have control in order to be happy. And yeah, like I kind of, on the other section, I kind of just summed it all. Like I put, like, I need more time and time management in order to do everything that I want.
That time, you love that one.
I know. I'm like, I just don't have enough time. and then I go, like, to sum it all up, I think my limiting belief it's like, I need to feel good to do good, which
You feel good to do good, but what does that mean to do good?
well, all the good, all those, like, to do good in my health, to do
Career, wealth, relationships, happiness. So you have to feel good, and until you feel good, nothing.
I can't do good.
Yeah, it's good to know. It's good to know because that puts you in a difficult position. If nothing can go well, if you don't feel good and you don't feel good, then nothing can go well.
Well, I think in in that limited belief is like, if I don't feel good, nothing's gonna make me feel like, it's like this, like, I don't feel good, so I can't feel good.
Yeah, and it's
I'm not gonna feel good.
Right. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So so if any more things occur during the week, just write them down. But we're gonna try to kind of look at it next week, like, well, how can we work on these? Joy, what do you got?
So I just have, I want to be part of the chorus. I don't know that I did this right. So, I mean, I just kind of started writing things. And then as Leah and Joanne were talking, I'm like taking additional other ideas plus their ideas. And, so starting with health. So I need to eat healthier. I mean, I write this and there's part of me that's like, but I don't really care. I think I eat okay. I know I don't eat enough vegetable, so then it's like, that means, Joanne, I should give up sugar. I need to give up my Oreos. I need to eat more vegetables and fruit. And of course, and just the example you gave, Kelly, I mean, it's certainly my sister, and they buy all kinds of organic food. And I'm like, that's expensive. And if you I like to eat out. I mean, before the pandemic, I didn't even cook, and so it's like, now, buying expensive organic food. And then one time this doctor told me not to eat the list she gave me of things to eat. I was like, those are all the things I love to eat. And at that point in my life, if I had followed that instruction, I would not have eaten at all, because I was capable of not eating for days on end. And so it's like, you want me to stop eating everything that I love? You're not listening to me. You're not a very good doctor. I never saw that person again. But anyway, so, so just kind of lumping in all that kind of thing. And then about exercise, I need time. Yes, Leah, there's never enough time for all this stuff we need to do. I have, tried like doing the body groove dancing, and that's fun exercise. But then it's like, well, I like swimming, but swimming's way too much trouble because you have to get all dressed and undressed and dry, and your hair, and my hair gets wet, and so I want it to be fun. I want it to be natural. I don't want it to work at it. I think about, when people used to be just physical during their day, and they didn't have to do exercise because they were out working in the fields, and this is a sidetrack, but my dad was an optometrist, and I realized one of the reasons I think he's so healthy is he did not sit down in front of at a desk all day long. He stood up and walked around his office almost all day long. He was standing. But anyway.
So I wonder if that's a condition that exercise has to be part of daily life, convenient and fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a negative, but it's something that you see as a condition, that good exercise is exercise you don't even notice. That's still a condition that you're placing.
Right.
It's when we bump up against these conditions, whether they're positive or whether they're negative, that we get stuck because we've hit a condition, and that's just a fact. And so what the hell are you going to do about that?
Or the other thing, and I didn't write this down, but people are always like, well, if you start walking or you start running, you're going to feel better. And I'm like, no, I feel exhausted. It just makes me more tired. It doesn't make me feel better. So
so that may be one too. Exercise doesn't make people feel better, or doesn't make
me feel better. My dad's talking to the TV. It's really annoying. No, he's turned it up. I'm sorry. I need to go have him turn it down. I can't.
Okay.
This is not acceptable.
We're just waiting. Twiddling our thumbs.
I'll do the Jeopardy song. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do,
Do I have the right answer? I'm sorry.
All right.
He's very distracting to me.
Okay.
I forgot what I was writing, what you were saying. You had rephrased something. Exercise does is how far I got.
Exercise doesn't make me feel better.
Right. It makes me tired. Does not energize me. It makes me tired.
Yeah.
Okay. Sleep routine. You must get up and go to sleep at the same time every day. And I need 9.5 hours of sleep to be rested. And I need my anti-anxiety meds to sleep at this time. I don't consider that a permanent, but I also have morning people, and people who need less sleep than I am are more successful and have it easier in life.
Okay. Good condition.
So career, I went first specific, like I love acting. And so to be an actor, I would need to have education in theater. I would also need a lucky break to be in the right place at the right time. I have work is not supposed to be fun, and again, this is not necessarily written in conditions, and that's Kelly can help put them in conditions, but it's like it can be fulfilling and aligned with your values. I had a job like that, but there were always parts that sucked. And my now overall experience with working in organizations is that they are generally toxic and don't give a shit about me. I'm riled up with my dad. So really, and it's time. I know it's the end of our episode, but anyway. So, however, this is condition is I believe that you have to work for someone else. An organization provides security in terms of a steady income and benefits, even though I also know that that's not true and they can let you go at the drop of a hat. But my brain says you get security with a paycheck and benefits if you work for someone else. If you work for yourself, it's very risky. You end up working constantly, and you don't have a balance of work life. You pour your life into your work, and there's no guarantee that it will be successful, and that it's scary and no security. I wrote down what Leah said. You have to earn more money to have more money. So you have to be willing to risk investing in the stock market. You have to be willing to climb the corporate ladder, which means more work, more responsibility, more demand, supervising others. And I wrote, I start feeling constricted just thinking about all that. I work on the low level of that corporate ladder. I chose jobs that called to me personally, even though they didn't make money. And I made that decision as a young person, that I'd rather have work I liked than make money. And now I am nearing retirement age and don't know that I'll ever be able to retire.
That's a condition. You can't make a lot of money at a job that you like.
Right.
That's a condition.
Let's see. Yeah, I went for what I wanted, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm working a relatively low income job and don't know if I can ever retire. You can't do what you love and make money at it. You have to work a regular job to make money, meaning, I don't know what I mean by that. I mean, I guess I do know what I mean. It goes back to that working for an organization where, there's structure and it's not just some crazy idea. I don't know. I'll never be rich because I can't trust the stock market and I don't want to climb the corporate ladder.
Okay. So that
and
is you can't be rich. A person can't be rich unless they either invest successfully in the stock market or they climb the corporate ladder.
And I did find, when I was working on the career part, I worked really hard to try to separate those things out. As I knew you had said, they're not necessarily related, but I am a victim of our society that says they are.
We're putting wealth and career together. That's okay.
Right. So then into relationships, about family. No surprise to everyone here, others' needs are more important than mine. So we're working on that.
Yeah.
So romantic relationships. I mean, some of these are old messages that I'm not sure I believe anymore. I know this part I'm about to say is not, but it's like, don't let anybody see you weak or vulnerable. Don't give them ammunition to be able to hurt you. Sabotage will end the relationship before they can hurt you. Put up walls. Don't trust people to love you. If they really knew me, and that's kind of an old message, if they really knew me, I'm getting more in touch with who I really am and liking that person. But I think before, when I was putting on a mask, then that was really a lot more true. but there is still, and this is one of the things under that is I'm not good enough. And some of that is also like in terms of I would want to have a relationship with someone who shared the same faith that I do. And even though I grew up in this religion, I feel like I'm not as well read. I'm not as active. I don't do as much service. I'm not at the level of the person I would want to attract. I'm, there obviously I wrote it down. Am I young enough? I mean, yes, I'm not young enough. I'm not adventurous enough. The old here is I can't have a romantic relationship with all my depression. It kind of goes along a little with what Leah was saying. And there's still some of that. It's like, I've got to have my act together and I've got to love myself. And, I've been working on trying to love myself all these years. And, anyway, I could go on down that rabbit hole, but in different ways, but, I'm moody, I get angry, I cry, I'm grieving a lot of losses in my life. And I don't mean like the people dying, but I mean like my childhood things, so that I have to be perfect for somebody to love me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like not a human person.
Right.
Like a perfect robot lady.
Right. So then in terms of work relationships, and this also sounded a little bit like when Leah was talking about career, that you have to always be dependable, reliable, give 100%, go above and beyond. And I was just telling my dad this quote a woman had shared with me years ago on a job. We were both contractors. And she said, if they're only paying you for a Volkswagen, don't give them a Cadillac. And I was like, but I don't know how to give him anything but a Cadillac. And I'm still kind of at that place. Leah loves that one. Yes, it's a great expression. It's a great expression.
And that is a condition, right? No matter what they give you, you give them the Cadillac.
Right. Exactly.
You're somehow a measure of your character, right?
Right.
That's the condition that you believe, that what you give to others, regardless of what they give to you, is a statement of your character. That is a condition.
Yes. And then with friends, be selective, build trust slowly. Don't wear your heart on your sleeve. Don't leak. I'm very uncomfortable around people that I don't know well that want to spill their guts. And I'm like, you need some boundaries because you're just leaking all over me, all of your stuff. And don't be needy. Happiness. I was like, am I worthy of happiness? Am I too old to have it all?
The condition is anyone has to be worthy of happiness, right?
What's the condition?
That there's such a thing as worthy of happiness, that there's a valuation of being worthy of happiness.
Okay. So another concept of being happy is being easy with life. And it's like, to me, that means going with the flow, being, the ups and downs, and not having anxiety and not having depression and not have crashing lows. And again, it's like, I don't know. I'm just, happy. You don't get to be happy all the time. I guess that's a condition.
You don't.
You don't get to be happy all the time. Yeah. And I'm almost done. And then, well, I threw out, this kind of was a throw out. Am I too old to have it all? It's like at this point in my life.
Age limit on having it all. That's the condition.
Right.
Yeah, there's an age limit on having it all.
And I guess part of that too, I was gonna say, this was kind of an aside, and it's definitely not an aside.
Okay.
And and what about the children that I always wanted, that I am too old to have? And there is nothing that's the same as having your own children.
You mean physically?
Huh?
You mean
Physically. Yeah. Or even, I mean, I know you adopted children. I mean, that's having your own children too. So I don't necessarily mean giving birth. I mean, having your own children.
And you're saying, so what the condition is, there is an age limit on having your own children. That is your,
Yes.
so write that down. There's an age limit on having your own children.
And the last one is that I have to get all my work done before I can have any fun.
Yes, I know that condition. I've met
Right.
many.
Yes.
So I'm sure that it was much easier for you when it was not your turn to see the impact of the conditions, right? When other people were talking, you could see the impact these conditions are having on them and their possibilities and what's possible in their lives and the pain that they're causing, right? You could see it in each other, probably couldn't see it in yourself. So just think about that. Just imagine, you know, your conditions are exactly the same as the other two people's conditions in terms of the way that they're influencing your life, right? And the possibility that they are keeping you from the very thing that you think that they're somehow in charge of, right? And what if they are an illusion, right? Because that's the statement of this book, is that conditions are not real, they are an illusion, but as soon as we put faith and belief in them, they become true. And that it is only our faith and belief in them that makes them true. So we're not going to do anything else on this, but I just want to put that out there. What if they're an illusion? What if it is only the credence that you give them that gives them any power in your life? And don't try to answer it. Just let it be out there. And if any other things come to you this week, just write them down. And then we'll start looking at, well, how might we work with these next week?
Like, just a quick question. How do you distinguish between like a belief and a fact?
Well, I mean, I think you have to do a litmus test. Like, for example, Joy said she's too old to have her own children. I know for a fact, even physically, that's not true, because I think the oldest live birth was like 66. So, and then you have all sorts of other options. So that is 100% not a fact. Almost everything every one of you guys said is not a fact. I don't think anything you said was a fact. They are all, it doesn't mean you don't experience it like a fact, right? But I don't think any of you said, I mean, I think it's, you have to look for evidence that that is not true. And, you know, in every single case, I think you will find evidence that that is not true, that there are many instances of the opposite being true. And a lot of the other thing about these is they tend to be black and white thinking. So a lot of gradations of gray, but for sure, when you hold it as a condition, you can't get around it, you know, because it just, for you, it feels like a fact, you know, so you don't push on it because like, oh, well, we can't do anything about that. When in reality, you know, like your hot mess thing, come on, man, Look at that dude that's dating Kim Kardashian. That dude's the hottest mess that ever lived. He can't seem to not have a relationship with the like hottest women in the world. So, I mean, like that condition, whether or not you want to have a relationship where you're in the place you're in right now is a question. But can you get one? That is not a question. That being a hot mess in no way precludes you from a relationship. That is not at all an issue. So just that as you go through your list, and this is probably what we'll do next week, because I'm making this shit up as we go, is we will probably start to poke holes and look at, where's the evidence against that, right? To just start to look at what things might you be able to alter, put down, lessen the significance that you give, ways to just create more possibility, more openness, more ways that things could go right in your life and in the world, Anything else anybody wants to share? Okay. Joy, are you okay?
Yes. I got my baby, you saw.
Yeah.
And to give me cuddles. But yeah. It's just an emotional. It's a sore spot inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, the removing the conditions creates other possibilities, and it doesn't mean you have to do anything different, but creating the possibilities opens up pathways, in your heart, in your mind, in your life. And then you decide, what do you really?
But you also know me, Kelly, and we have to deal with the yes, but.
That's a condition too, right? Yeah. So, but that's okay because it's the process, it's the growth, right? So every little, it's kind of like the sleep. One step forward is one step forward. It doesn't matter what else happens, because you can build on that one step forward, no matter how small of a step it is in whatever area it is, right? It's just that idea. And when you were saying that you thought that since you're getting to know and like yourself more, that maybe that idea wasn't, but I think there is that piece underneath that of like, is my authentic self too much, too scary, too real, to for me to get what I want? And that's a condition too, that like, if you're real, if you're authentic, if you shine fully, nobody could handle you, right? And nobody might want that, right? And those are conditions that then again prevent the full seizing of who you are, the full expression of who you are, because there's that sense of like, well, I don't want to be all of me if that means I'm alone, and yet then that becomes the that cyclical self-fulfilling prophecy too. Yeah.
But I could also, when Leah was talking about putting herself in a little box and being like, I'm just small. It's like, okay, one of these days, the Jack in the Box is going to come out and we'll be surprised.
Yeah, what's a comfortable life to be like in there trying not to,
Well, I know I spent too many years priding myself on not being like the stereotypical woman. Like, I'm not emotional. I'm like, and I found, I would like deny feeling so that I didn't even come across as maybe even closely like those dramatic like women that are so, like for me, this is like a limit, where I like aggressive and needy and manipulative. I'm like, no, I'm just like, I'm just cool. I'm chill.
I find it really interesting though that both you and Joy mentioned people like that, and I think they're triggers because you're not getting your needs met, and so when somebody is needy and outwardly that way, whether or not their boundaries are not in the right place is a separate question. But I think the reason that it triggers you is because you're denying getting your needs met in so many ways that when you see someone just wandering around going, give me, you're like, what the fuck? You're wandering around saying, give me, and I can't get nothing. I think that's the reason it's a trigger.
That is like, that actually is so true, Kelly. I actually never really looked at it that way before.
Yeah.
That is why it bugs me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sitting here suffering.
You're just getting it everywhere. You got your hand out and people are giving you all kinds of things everywhere because you're asking for it. What?
I know. And my pride and limiting beliefs won't allow me to do that.
Yes, and that doesn't mean that there are people that really, are overly seeking from the outside. But I think the reason that it bothers you is because you're not getting your needs met, and that you decided that other people's needs are more important.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a great crime perpetrated against women, that condition being given to us like over and over and over and over again from birth, that everyone else's needs are more important than ours. All right. Sorry for the lateness. See you guys next week.
So next week we're doing the rest of that thing.
Well, ideally, if you can finish the exercise from the assessment exercise, we'll share when we share our check-in, we'll share, and then hopefully everyone else will also get caught up on this. If that doesn't happen, we'll have to see what we do. But then we would go to the next step in this. So we'd share the assessment during the check-in and then keep moving on the conditionality in the exercise part.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we don't get there, then we'll figure it out. What'd you say, Joy?
I was just gonna say, I mean, I found it to be fairly time consuming to do the 3 pieces.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I just think sharing and we all like to share a lot.
Oh, you mean you think just next week will be all sharing? Well, that's okay because some people aren't finished. And then that would give them another week. The people who aren't here didn't do this part. That would give them another week to do that. So if everybody shares their assessment next week, then that gives another week for people to get caught up on this half of this part. Yeah, that totally works.
I mean, I just also wanted, I forgot what Joanne said, I didn't think she'd finished the assessment either, but I mean, that I didn't know how much time to set aside and I actually ended up doing it in 2 parts. Because
it is because there's the really long journaling. It was 3 screens of journaling on the
right,
and then there was art, and then there was 2 more journalings in the 7 video. Yeah.
Like you're talking about the whole trifold.
No, I'm talking about the last piece, middle, and the middle is a journaling, but because it's the most important part. It's the long journaling. And then that's video number 5. Video number 6 is then a meditation, visualization, and drawing for the middle. And that's also kind of a 3-parter. And then after that is an assessment of the whole exercise and then looking at 22. That's video number 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're recommending not to do it in one sitting?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would be a long sitting.
My first one was a long sitting. I did the journaling. I did I did the journaling and the drawing. I did 5 and 6 together, but I think I might have spent 3 hours. And then the 7, I took about an hour, I think, to do. But, you know, everybody's time would be different and how you felt like you wanted to split it up would be different. I just kind of wanted to let you know if you hadn't
Yeah,
worked
no,
on it.
I
It's
appreciate
not just going to
that.
be an hour or two, or, you know, it
Yeah.
could be a couple hours, but it might be longer.
Yeah,
No,
it's more involved than the first two sections.
yeah. Well, no, I appreciate that because I tend to leave things to the last minute. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
It's not a good time to start.
Which is what I was gonna do
Power-
last night.
power
So
journaling.
Yeah, so
So I
and
do.
like, you know, life happens like it did this week. Well, you just, you know, do what you can do and we'll see where we're at next week.
Okay.
All right, okay.
Thank you, ladies.
As always, it's good to see everybody.
Mhm.
absolutely.
Take care. Have a good week.
You guys too.